So welcome to the quarterfinals here at the Four Horsemen Comics Game, West Virginia State Championships. You got Chris McKinney on the left, 7 seed, playing with the black-green Cryptolith Rights deck, and Hank Carver on the right, playing some Bant Company. I know how much we all love Bant Company.
Everybody loves Bant Company.
We do.
So I'm still Mitch Depker. He's still Wyatt Gehring, and we have a third commentator now. Say hello, Alan.
Hello, I'm Alan.
So you're a Bant Company player, Alan. So what do you like about this matchup?
So I'm not too familiar with this matchup. I know the black-green deck was basically built as a way to beat the Bant deck. There's a lot of sticky threats that either when they die they make guys, or you can just power out a lot of things. Things like Blister Pod and whatnot just kind of go up the ground even more. And here we see the Zulaport Cutthroat, so that'll let Chris keep in line with life and not, chump block and gain life while costing Hank some.
So here we see a Dromoka's Command.
Fight and sacrifice an enchantment.
Yeah, that's a good way to get rid of Cryptolith Rights. It's a good answer would be the Dromoka's Command.
Hank only has 2 Dromoka's Commands in his main deck, though.
So half of them,
They
half
might
of
be
them
a
are
little
gone.
taxed.
Half gone. However, is he playing Den Protectors in his main?
He does have 3 Den Protector and 4 Death Mist Raptor.
Alright, so he wants to recur stuff.
Yeah, he's playing a list closer to the one from before Shadows came out.
Alright, so we have a collected company that almost looks like he has only hit 2 creatures on it, maybe. It looked like a lot of lands, another collected company, and maybe only 1 creature. Nope, 2.
He's putting a lot of thought into it if it's only 2 creatures.
There might have been a third, but there weren't many.
So I know got a chance to talk to Chris McKinney before this event started, and I think we mentioned this earlier, but basically watched the Pro Tour yesterday. Saw LSV's success with this deck against Bant, the Bant Company deck, and decided that he wanted to play it for this event. He just kind of attacks the game from a different sort of angle that the Bant Company deck's not really equipped to deal with, and could be the best Westvale Abbey deck in the format in the form of Chris McKinney's deck.
I don't know, the black-white control list we had just seen played by...
yeah, the last round. It was...
In the last round. Yeah. Played by... who was Nicholas Bray. Definitely with the Secure the Way seemed super solid with the Westvale Abbey as well.
So last turn we saw Hank. He's playing a lot to the board. He has 2 collected companies in his hand. He just opted to play a creature and remove Nantuko Husk instead. And it's unclear whether the Nantuko Husk wasn't really going to be doing much. I mean, it would threaten a lot of damage, but there is a Death Mist Raptor.
Yeah, now we see Chris McKinney really jump ahead on the creature count here. Really have a strong ability to go a lot wider than what Hank's deck is trying to do. Definitely.
And the other thing right now is if Chris were to hit his... I was going to say if he were to hit his Westvale Abbey, he would be able to transform, I believe. The Westvale Abbey without a problem. But since he is playing against Bant Company, it could be really awkward against the Reflector Mage.
So it looks like Chris might have something to do here. There's the Westvale Abbey.
Yep.
Yeah, it's also Important to note, Chris McKinney playing a singleton copy of Liliana's Indignation as a win condition. You have no idea what that card does? Well, I'm going to help you out, Alan. There we go. I'll let you read that, and you can start laughing.
So he gets to put the top X cards of his library into the graveyard, and I assume Hank would be losing 2 life for each creature card. Seems alright, and there are a lot of creatures in Chris's deck, so.
Like I said, I don't think it seems until you're sure that Hank isn't going to do anything. I don't think if you're Chris, you really want to be sacrificing to Westvale Abbey, because you could just get punished by a Reflector Mage here.
Yeah, absolutely. No real reason for Chris
To try to go for the Indestructible Demon.
Yeah, and we saw a draw of Collected Company as well, so we might even get a chance to see that.
He plays with Blister Pod.
He might secretly be holding up Collected Company in the form of that Eldrazi Scion over there.
He actually can't cast his Collected Company.
Oh,
he left up 2 swamps.
Oh, okay. I see that now.
And I believe we'll see Collected Company on the other side of the table, though. Or not, that's the Archangel Avacyn, discounted thanks to the Crawling Horde Howler.
Yeah, we might see Hank.
He's still just sitting on those
we
2
would
cards.
like. There we go. There's the Archangel Avacyn.
We'll get Avacyn up.
There we go.
There it is.
You guys keep talking about it.
So, not sure where. Looks like we're going to get a combat. Avacyn hits in for 4. No blocks in the air. Well, looks like we got something. Yeah. So Chris is going to try to cast the Collected Company, but he can't actually do that.
He cannot because he doesn't have a green source.
He doesn't have green.
So
Well,
if I type this link into the chat, will we all be able to see the top 8? Will that work?
Yeah, it'll
Should
be,
be, yeah.
go through.
So
Alright, so let me actually text
let
down
them
there.
know. That's-
Actually, I will run down there and let them know that he cannot actually cast that Collected Company.
So we'll have to try to get a stoppage in the game.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not even sure. I don't know even know how we correct this.
I don't either.
Chris just realized he didn't have a green mana.
I think we're past the game state though, so it looks like
He could get a... Well, we'll have to see what the official ruling is here. It could be very possible that Chris will just have to shuffle those back into his library.
Well, he did pull 2 creatures off of it,
Yeah,
so...
but that's what I mean on his Collected Company. He may just have to shuffle his creatures back in.
Well, he does know some of the cards on the bottom of his library, too.
True.
yeah, it's an interesting situation. I'm sure the judge will get it all figured out. I'm being told the link for top 8 was good, so we got something right tonight.
Ayo.
It's always a work in
Hey,
progress.
it always, I mean, after all the camera trouble we did have in the first 2 rounds,
yeah, I think we're good for top 8. As we still see players mulling over what to do with this miscast Collected Company.
yeah, we just have to wait till the head judge comes over to definitely make the, so we know the complete call here.
Yeah. So what have you guys, while we let the judge figure this out and the players deal with the ruling, what did you guys think of this event so far? I know, Alan, you played in it for
Yeah,
a little
that's
bit. What'd
I
you?
did. I played for a little bit. I quickly lost. I went 1 and 2 and quickly dropped. So
Swiftly.
And so now you're our
wasn't my best showing in a tournament.
and now you're our Bant Company expert in the booth.
Yeah. So a little bit more about Hank's Bant deck. He has a lot of basics. He's playing 6 plains and 4 forests in his deck.
There's a lot of basics.
He has 4 Lumbering Falls and 4 Canopy Vista and 4 Prairie Stream. So I can only assume he tried to cut down on the amount of tap lands that he had. And the only blue card in the main deck is Reflector Mage. So he probably doesn't need too many blue sources.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't really have many blue cards in the sideboard either, so.
So did you play a list similar to this today?
No, my list was a little all over the place. It was more of the stock list. I had the Eldrazi Displacers as a way to break the mirror. But I didn't even play against the mirror. I played against multiple Mono White Humans decks.
Yeah, I know one of our top 8 competitors in Russell Morehouse was also on the Bant company with the Eldrazi Displacer, or quote-unquote 4-color company, if you consider colorless a color.
There is a waste in my deck.
Yeah, so we were talking about is a card like Eldrazi Displacer breaking the Bant company mirror, and I imagine I was talking to Russell, and I think he ran into Bant company quite a bit today and felt really comfortable in that matchup with his deck.
Yeah, the Displacers help a lot, and I also played a Bygone Bishop as an additional flyer, so I'm not as weak to a lot of the flying threats in the format.
Yeah, I know there was a talk of cards like Bygone Bishop or Eldrazi Sky Spawner. You opted for the Bishop.
Yeah, I like the Bishop as another card advantage engine.
Absolutely. Can't deal with the card Grip Spoon, can you?
Nope.
Can't
No
beat
clean
it?
answer. The fact that it comes back from the graveyard is pretty important.
Yeah, I think it's funny that we actually, we have a mono white deck in the format, being as dominant as it is, and the deck in the format to beat, being Bant Company, can actually deal with a card like Grip Spoon.
I know from testing prior to the Star City Games Open in Baltimore that Grip Spoon wasn't even a card I thought about, and it turns out it was it's a lot better. I read it as a limited card, and I thought it would be poor and limited, but it's still pretty good there, and I think it's all just because it can come back.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like Dramoka's command proof, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Well, I think that's the other part of it being in the Mono White Humans deck is, since they play 4 Always Watching, which is the reason to play the deck. It's that powerful. You play Grip Spoon, and then you have Always Watching, and now they can't Dramoka's command you to get rid of Always Watching.
So it appears we're still trying to figure out
still on this judge call
exactly what to do with this collected company, and it looks like.
So I think what Chris is saying is, hey, look, I could tap my mana a different way
and still resolve the spell. However,
it looks like we're just going to rewind it and shuffle some cards back in. At least that's what it looks like.
Yeah, put the bottom 4 cards that he had put on bottom from that, put them back on top.
And then the company should be back in the hand.
Yeah.
So I believe a Scion, a Catacomb Sifter, and a Liliana will be going back into the deck as well. I believe he also had a Scry trigger off. He sacked a Scion previously to get it.
Yep.
It's likely another Scry, unless he kept the Scry on top. So it does appear we're just going to rewind the game and work from there.
Yeah, I'm sure Chris McKinney probably not too happy right now with his
misplay.
His missequencing. But even without that collected company, he still felt pretty. I don't want to say too far ahead, because I know the collected company deck can catch up in quite the hurry.
Yep. So yeah, all he did was just back up, like I thought at the beginning. Just back up, shuffle his library, shuffle those back in.
So there's the Scion that was from the previous Catacomb Sifter. not sacrificed. Cards are now back on the bottom. Should be good to go now. I believe Chris is still going to take 4 from this Avison, though.
The beats.
I think an important aspect of the Cryptolith Rights deck we see Chris playing is if Hank tries to attack to force blocks and get his Avison to flip, everything can just jump in front. All of his creatures are basically 1/1s. So Chris's creatures will die while Hank's creatures live, and the Avison won't flip.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty flippin' sweet.
And this is why we put Wyatt in the booth.
I think that was the best pun you've made in 6 rounds.
And since the goggles.
Yeah, but I guess, but I had one too then. I'm gonna give myself that goggles pun I had. But
So now I believe they're gonna be there's a problem where Chris's sleeve might be marked in some way.
This is just not shaping up to be Chris's round right now.
I don't know about that though. I think Chris
is sitting in a good position.
Yeah.
It's just,
I mean, watching LSV play the deck, and obviously LSV is LSV, but the black-green Cryptolith Rights deck has a lot of game to it. It's pretty similar to the old Aristocrats deck from last Standard season, and a lot of these cards didn't really leave the format. So we could even see a blue-black Aristocrats deck pop up in the near future.
so it looks like
Is Chris getting a
game loss. It could be. I mean, this is
top 8 competitive
REL.
So
something like the sleeve issue could cause an automatic game loss on top of the issue
with Collected Company.
Yeah, so it does appear that Chris's Duskwatch Recruiters were seeable through the back of his sleeve.
And that is enough that would be a game loss.
Yeah, so that's kind of a tough break here for Chris.
However, it's something small like that, I don't know. I feel like if on Chris's part, maybe could have noticed that earlier too. As in, just to be safe for the day, just play checklist cards.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about sideboarding. I know you have a deck list in front of you, Wyatt. You want to go through that?
Alright, so I do have Chris's sideboard here, and he's playing 1 Tireless Tracker, 2 Kalidas, 2 Fleshbag Marauder, 2 Ultimate Price, 1 Transgress the Mind, 3 Duresses, 2 Ulvenwald Mysteries, and 2 Den Protectors. I definitely think we see him bring in, I was going to say the Duresses, but really, the only instant sorcery in there are going to be your Declaration of Stones and your...
he has 4 companies, but it's unsure how well Duress doesn't line up too well.
Too well, yeah.
I like the Ultimate Price for Chris.
For the Avison. If Avison does not flip, Ultimate Price will deal with her. I do not mind. I also don't mind the Ultimate Price for dealing with just general the trackers and such like that, Den Protector, just a lot of the creatures in the deck. The Tireless Trackers. See, has Transgress the Mind in the matchup wouldn't be too bad either. Takes care of Archangel Avison, Death Mist,
Yeah, a
does
lot,
hit
a lot of his
It hits a
creatures
lot of the
cost
creature
30,
as
so-
well as the collected companies.
All right, so you want to run through this sideboard here, Alan?
So for Hank, we have 2 clip wings, 1 Den Protector, 2 Dramoka's Command, 2 Felidar Cub, 2 Hidden Dragon Slayer, 2 Lambholt Pacifist, 2 Negate, and 2 Tragic Arrogance. The clip wings could come in. It's likely that they do. It's an answer to Ormondal. The Den Protector could also come in if he thinks the game might get long. And then he has the 2 Dramoka's Command and 2 Felidar Cub. It's unclear how much enchantment removal he really wants. The only enchantments that Chris McKinney's going to have are his Cryptolith rights, but it is pretty important to get those off the table. He has 2 Negates, which probably would just stay in the sideboard as well. And the 2 Tragic Arrogances could come in, but the fact that all of Chris's creatures will just die and make more guys, we'll probably just leave them in the sideboard as well. So it's likely just 2 clip wings and some mixture of the Dramoka's Command and Felidar Cub.
One thing here, though,
you don't like the Den Protector, though, Alan?
The Den Protector, Den Protector could come in. He has 3 in the main deck, and it's unclear how much he really wants the 4th. I don't know how long this game, he really wants the game to go. But I think the long game really suits the Cryptolith Rights deck. Chris could just quickly set up a bunch of Zulaport Cutthroats and sack his board to make an Ormondal and basically just hit Hank for 20 in 1 turn.
Another thing here, not sideboard related, is I know I've been in a situation before where my opponent gets a game loss for something dumb. Like whenever I did it, his deck list didn't match. He had a random deck check, and his deck list did not match up with the one on the sheet, so he got an automatic loss. So even if something like that happens, you still you still only have to win 1 game, but you just can't let that get in your mind. It's still entirely possible, like we were talking, where the Cryptolith deck was made
it was built to beat
Bant Company. So sure, Hank still only has to win 1 game here, but McKinney's deck was built to beat this. So I think it'll still be a tough battle for both sides. Chris knows he has to win 2 in a row now, but
I just caught a glimpse of Hank doing some sideboard, and it looked like he was bringing out Sylvan Advocates, and I saw he was bringing in the 2 Negates and 2 Felidar Cub with 2 Tragic Arrogance. So we'll see how that works for him. I think Dramoka's Command might just be better than having the Felidar Cubs.
Yeah, I agree. There's only 4 copies, or there's only 1 enchantment that Chris will play in Cryptolith Rights. And yeah, so being able to get rid of a Cryptolith Rights while still, fighting something down, seems pretty strong. Too strong for me to actually to pass up.
Well, the Dramoka's Command was pretty important in the first game. It just got the Zulaport Cutthroat off the table immediately, and Chris only got 1 trigger off of it.
Answer that.
I think it was a mixture. So there was a question in the Twitch chat whether the game loss was about the misplay or the marked card. I think it was due to the fact that it was more for the marked card than he couldn't cast a spell.
And the biggest thing, when we say marked card, it wasn't the card itself was marked, but more that it was visible through the sleeve because it was a dual-sided card, so you could see the flip side through the card sleeve.
Yeah, I believe it was the Duskwatch Recruiter.
Yeah.
And it looks like Duskwatch Recruiter is back. So the Duskwatch Recruiters are actually pretty interesting in this matchup because once they flip, they help both players just as much.
Yeah.
Might actually benefit Hank a little bit more because his deck is a little more mana intensive. Let me see Catacomb Sifter.
Mm-hmm. So there's a good chance, we see Hank bring in the Felidar Cub, but there's a chance this might not do anything this game.
Felidar Cub can't even attack into the Catacomb Sifter.
We have the Den Protector though again, or not Den Protector, but Deathmist Raptor again on turn 3.
He does have 4. It's very likely he has one in the opener. And
Okay.
looks like Deathmist Raptor comes into the red zone, and we're going to get a Collected Company. That one he can't cast.
Yeah, so it looks like he blocked with the token, sacrificed it to get the mana.
We only hit one creature though.
We saw that earlier too with Chris. He punted.
He missed. He
So
missed.
now we have the Scry going to the bottom. That's off the Catacomb Sifter. Still, the Zulaport Cutthroat is going to be a very important piece to this game, and if Hank doesn't have a way to deal with it, it might just win Chris the game. And it looks like Hank had a negate, but he couldn't cast it because he currently does not have blue mana.
And that's where we were talking about. You said Hank took out those Dromoka's commands.
I don't know if he took out Dromoka's command, but he took out the Sylvan Advocates, which are just
Chris
good
plays a
blockers.
second.
It also seems pretty. The 2/3 against a bunch of 2/2s. It seems pretty good.
Chris plays a second Cutthroat and a Liliana here.
Yep. So Liliana is also important because see we have this attack and
we get the Duskwatch Recruiter transforming back to itself, I do believe, because he played 2 or more spells this turn.
see Collected Company.
Collected Company will do it too.
Yep. Well, one player has to play 2 or more.
Yeah. And,
So that looks like a whiff.
Yeah, it looks like a miss on Hank Carver.
We did find blue mana in the Collected Company.
Though, one thing that I mean, it might sound small that it looked like Hank was doing is with Collected Company, it does go back in any order. So he ordered the cards he put on bottom rather than us keeping it random.
That could be important.
I mean, I don't know.
But he doesn't have any Jace, so he won't be going through too much of his deck.
I mean, he won't be going through too much, but it's definitely something that not many people do.
So
They take their time to do
this
it.
attack could see a block.
Chris is 17. I feel like I was gonna say
just took it.
yeah, going to 14.
So if Chris had blocked there, he could have blocked with the Zulaport Cutthroat, got a Cutthroat trigger, then had a Scry trigger from the Catacomb Sifter, then triggered Liliana and got a zombie and a Planeswalker.
And they can always return
it seems like a lot of value to pass up.
And return the Cutthroat again next turn if you have to.
Yeah, so it seems like Chris has set up the majority of his engine. He doesn't have a Cryptolith Rights, but everything else seems to be coming together. And there's the Westvale Abbey.
There's the Westvale Abbey. So yeah, actually here, if Chris would have blocked last turn and gave up the Cutthroat, he would have flipped, got the token, and then would have been able to make the Westvale Abbey token this turn.
So it looks like we're going to be activating Westvale Abbey.
That's going to be
so we're going to get a lot of Zulaport Cutthroat triggers because it will see all of them die at the same time.
5 creatures dying.
So 10, that'll be 10.
10 triggers. I believe Hank is just dead. So we'll now get 5 Scries. And sadly we sacrificed the Liliana, so we won't be getting any zombies, I don't believe.
Nope.
And yep, we're going to hit for 9.
Does that put him to 1?
Yep.
He's at 1. Flip that unmorph Megamorph Den Protector, we're gonna get Collected Company back. But so this Collected Company is going to have to hit
a Reflector Mage.
There's a Reflector Mage in
I feel like
hand.
you almost save the Collected Company until Chris's turn and do it during like upkeep, so if you can have Bounding Crisis and tap it down too, so that he can't attack.
Don't believe we.
Nope.
I believe the first 5 cards are also lands on that company.
But I definitely think on Chris's part, if he would have, like you said earlier, if he would have blocked with a Cutthroat, you end up flipping your Liliana, getting a zombie token and a Liliana, the Planeswalker. On your next turn, you can use Liliana to -2, get your Cutthroat back, so now you have 5 creatures and Liliana to sacrifice to your Westvale Abbey, get the emblem, or not the emblem, but the demon, the Armandal, and you still have Liliana around.
Yeah, and it's important that flipping Liliana would not put Chris below 5 creatures because he would have got a zombie as well. And
yeah.
Looks like Hank might be cutting some Collected Companies. I think he's tired of whiffing.
I'm not sure you really want
I was going to say, I don't know if you really want to cut the Collected Companies in Collected Company. Though he did, it looked like a Tragic Arrogance he might have taken out on the last one. I don't know, though.
Well, I do believe Tragic Arrogance is poor
Tragic
in the
Arrogance
matchup to
is
begin with.
not good in this matchup.
Yeah.
It looks like he didn't have Reflector Mage
He didn't
in his
even
deck.
have Reflector Mage in.
So I think Hank is quickly going to make that change and go back to the pretty similar to what he had in his main board with Reflector Mage and Dromoka's Command.
I think taking the Reflector Mage out for Game 2 just seems weird, especially whenever you did see the Westvale Abbey Game 1.
It's important to note that Hank isn't playing Bounding Crisis, so he doesn't. So if he took out the Reflector Mages for Game 2, he didn't have any answers to an Ormondal at all.
It's also important to note that Dromoka's Command actually kind of a good way to deal with the lifelink that Ormondal provides. By maybe not so much in this black-green Crypto with Rights deck, but being able to fight the creature that Ormondal blocks with another creature and taking it out of combat will prevent the life gain.
Nope, you still gain the life from the...
I'm not saying fight Ormondal.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. I thought you were saying fight Armandal with it. I was like,
So in Game 2 right there, we saw why this black-green deck is favored against the Bant deck. He just kind of makes this giant demon, and there are no flying blockers besides the Archangel Avacyn's.
Yeah, I mean, we found that's the one of the major weaknesses of the Bant Company deck is its inability to deal with flying threats.
Yeah,
and that could be why Hank chose, because some people weren't playing. I mean, there's still some number of Archangel Avacyn, but
yeah, usually around 2. It's still you don't want 4 because you're casting Collected Company.
yeah, so it could be why he chose to still leave 3 in the main board is because of the problem with flyers.
Could be. It's also just a fantastic card.
It is just a well-made Magic card. Hashtag restrict Archangel Avacyn. I mean, we can either ban her or we can restrict her in standard.
Hashtag we need to errata it to not have flash.
Yes.
Can we fit that in a hashtag?
He's playing 6 basic planes,
Errata,
and he only
Archangel
has 3 Avacyns and 2 Declarations.
You know what we could do is just to get rid of flash, just seal everybody's Archangel Avacyn and just for the flash part with a Sharpie.
Yeah, do a little Mania errata, kind of like changing Badlands to Good Land and Marsh Flats to Best Land.
Marsh Flats are pretty great.
They grab everything you need.
Yeah, they go get Savannah, basic plains. They don't get basic swamp, because why would you play basic
Oh, I
swamp?
should play, yeah.
They also don't get you your Taiga.
I mean, but you could get a Savannah and you can get a Plateau, and then you kind of have a Taiga.
Is that how that works?
I mean, you have red and green.
If we were playing Legacy Zoo and this was 2007, you would be making a lot of sense right now.
Legacy is still viable.
I tried. It's not.
I remember that. I remember that night. You got there a game against me.
So
Yeah.
Hank has blue mana this game, and he'll have turn 2 Duskwatch Recruiter. So the Recruiters are really interesting in this deck. Next turn, he could simply just play a land and activate the Recruiter and pass the turn. So he'll get a little bit of card advantage by getting another creature, and then he'll have a 3/3 that'll make all of his creatures on the following turn cheaper.
That's right. Chris playing the Blister Pod.
Yeah, it also Duskwatch Recruiter kind of it allows you to play the flash game that Bant Company wants to play as well. Being able to flip it, and he could play a tap land right now and still have access to Bounding Graces or a card like that.
Though he does not have the Bounding Graces in the 75, so.
Yep, no Bounding Grasses here. He
Really?
did miss his third land, and he played a Sylvan Advocate. So.
We see a Nantuko Husk here for Chris. One of the pieces that the Sack Outlet deck needs.
So it looks like Hank, the front card of his hand was a Reflector Mage, but no white mana. So attack with Sylvan Advocate. We could see a block with the Nantuko Husk and sacrificing the token.
Yeah, I like this play a lot by Chris. He's not holding up Dromoka's Command, and he missed a land drop, so yeah, I really like that play by Chris.
I do too, and
No land again.
I just think that may have been maybe the attack just didn't think through the Nantuko sacrifice.
Yeah, I think he wanted to put Chris to the test, but it's a lot easier to do when you're holding up a card like Dromoka's Command.
Ultimate price, and it gets
will immediately get negated. It's gonna have to take one in the process to do so, though.
Yep.
Well, I think that's good for Hank. He just kind of has to get some of these cards out of his hand, because unless he hits a land, he won't be playing many more spells.
I think it's a Sylvan Advocate he just drew. Maybe playing a Jace here. Yep. Taking one more to play that Jace, though.
No,
I believe it's a Nisa.
Oh, that's a Nisa? Oh, yeah, it
He
costs
does
one
not
less.
have Jace in his deck.
Yeah, that's right, it does cost one less.
So that'll help him get his third land, but it won't provide white mana, and I'm pretty sure he has at least one Reflector Mage and a Declaration in Stone.
Yeah, so a lot of cards Hank is opting not to play. He's chosen in favor of the 4 copies of Deathmist Raptor.
I'm not sure how good that is for his deck. The deck's good enough at gumming up the ground, and Deathmist Raptor only does that. Just
We
kinda
should
sits
have
there.
yep, should transform back at upkeep.
So
And Chris has
that's-
not drawn the card
That's
yet.
actually fine. It just happens. These things just happen, and it's
Yep.
still tapped.
And it's still tapped. I think the bigger thing was they were debating on whether or not Chris had gone to draw yet, and while he had taken off the top, he had still never actually had the card in his, seen the card or put it in his hand.
So we have a land from Chris. Looks like Chris has the Westvale Abbey again. Just needs to get some more creatures on the board.
Yeah, I imagine he's going to slow roll that Westvale Abbey as long as he possibly can.
Yeah. Get 3 mana. Catacomb Sifter.
It's a good way to get more creatures on the battlefield.
Yeah, and in combination with the Nantuko Husk that's already out there, Chris is setting up pretty nicely here over the next course of a few turns.
It looks like Hank once again still not hitting the land, though he does have the Deathmist Raptor.
So both these decks just gonna gum up the ground for a while.
Chris hitting his lands up.
That has to favor the Crypt with Rights deck, in my opinion.
It definitely does.
Alright, 3 mana again, and our Sifter. Or do we have a
I believe he has
Liliana?
Liliana in hand.
And yep, it is a Liliana. So he can he can flip this Liliana whenever he feels like it too. Definitely.
So, I believe now that the Duskwatch Recruiter is on the front side, it's going to be very hard for Hank to get it flipped back over because he can't take a turn off from developing his own board. And Chris's creatures are cheap enough where he can just keep deploying things every turn. And Death Mist Raptor will attack. So, Mitch, how do you feel about a chump block with this Eldrazi Scion?
Well, the chump block with the Eldrazi Scion isn't going to flip
The Liliana,
the Liliana, but I think it's still...
No, he just took the 3, which I think seems fine here. He's playing Cutthroat. He can gain that life back without a problem. If he hits his Cutthroat, but...
Chris looks like drew a recruiter of his own. So this Death Mist Raptor might be able to get in a lot of damage.
Yeah, Chris is going to do a good job gumming up the board, but doesn't really want to give away any of his creatures, opting to take 3 over the past few turns.
So if he has a Blister Pod here, he can
That
just
would
make
be, yeah.
Ormandal.
It's rare you ever get to say a Blister Pod here would be huge, but it would.
Blister Pod is fairly decent at chump blocking, I suppose.
Well, it would.
I don't really know what else Blister Pod has done in its
The only thing with Ormandal, though, is if he does get the token, or if he does get it, he can always block the Death Mist. But while Chris doesn't know that it's in Hank's hand, Hank does have the Reflector Mage for it, so that would be bad for Chris, though, to actually get it, give up the board state to get the...
He also has a copy of Declaration in Stone as well. Oh.
Looks like there's another problem with
the
cards being marked.
With the Armandal Westvale Abbey.
So I think what Chris has done is his Westvale Abbeys, he has the checklist card and the actual card in the same sleeve. And the look on Chris's face right now.
Yeah, it kind of says it all. This is never really how you want this to go down.
Even look at Hank. This is definitely not how Hank wanted it to go too.
Well, let's cut back to us a little bit. I don't know. What do you guys? Have you guys got a chance to watch the Pro Tour any today? I know we've been doing this a lot, but what about yesterday? Any decks you liked?
I definitely thought about playing the black-green deck. Just because I felt like Bant Company would be very popular, but I kind of just stuck with my guns and kept playing Bant.
Yeah, so so I guess we're gonna move to a different. So we got asked if we saw any interesting deck lists today. So there was a mono red vampire deck that we actually, as it looks like, Chris McKinney is gonna pick up another game loss. That's quite unfortunate.
Yeah.
So just real quick about that game, the board was setting itself up to favor Chris.
It absolutely was.
Hank's hand was 2 Reflector Mages and a Collected Company that he just couldn't cast. And yeah, so Hank just had all these white cards he wasn't going to be able to cast, had no white mana. He does have 6 planes and 8 dual lands that tap for white, so the likelihood of him drawing the white source would be fairly high. But I think Ormandal would have been able to erase that.
So yeah, it looks like we're I guess experiencing some sort of camera issues here, but
as per usual.
Yeah, as far as as far as interesting decks are concerned, We had a mono red vampire deck that we got to see on camera, and we also have a deck tech for that. Maybe we'll show that to you in between rounds, or
I think we showed that one earlier, possibly.
yes.
Yeah.
We also have